Why did you launch him 80 feet in the air?
You told me to boat flip him!
I didn't tell you to launch him 78 feet in the air.
I flipped him in the boat, didn't I?
Send it to the moon.
I sent it! You said boat flip him!
Oh, yeah.
Do you fish? No. You know, people who don't fish think that fishing is lazy or boring, but it is the complete opposite. There are 100 little decisions to be made, variables to be considered, and you're never quite sure what made the difference. Did I cast too high, too far to the left? Did I reel it in too slow or too fast? Is the lure too shiny or too dull? Do I stay here or should I go over there? And you know it's not luck, but you do not know by how much, because I am never disappointed out here because I don't expect anything, because anything is possible. I can be hopeful out here, even in failure, because I know if I just go out there around that.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Fishing the DMV. Please let me give a little mic check here. Let me know how the old audio sounds. Is it crispy? Is it clean? We got Joshua in the house. Hey, Thomas Aarons, have you gone and seen Ricky Folk yet? Folk Custom Crankbaits. If we haven't, we're making sure we hit that. We are taking little breaks in between. I want to make sure I'm at the booth, but we're going to make sure we hit everybody there. But this one guy, he came in. I want to really make sure I get him on. Shane Flint Outdoors. We've had him on the show a couple of times. But dude, how have you been?
Been doing great. How about yourself?
I've been doing awesome. You have had a hell of a rise in YouTube. And it was funny because we were talking about, we were on the boat 2 years ago now. Your channel just started out. Mine was about 6 months old. And you've come, that's insane to think about 2 years and look at where you are.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride, it has. And I've been fortunate enough for a lot of people to jump on the channel and follow us from the fishing tournaments we put on and the content that we put out. And it's keeping me busy. I enjoy it though, I love it. It's been awesome.
For people that don't know, I want to actually get to the story of the genesis, because when you first started your channel, I guess your thoughts when you first started the channel to what it's doing now, there's a little bit of a change there. Could you tell people at home like the progression, the growth?
Yeah, so when I started the channel, I was just thinking, hey, I just want to get fishing content out there, show people techniques that I use to catch fish here locally in Virginia. And then just one day I came across looking at some of the kayak virtual tournaments. I was like, why can't we do that with just bass tournaments in general? So I sponsored the first nationwide online bass tournament, virtual tournament, and it started out small, and now it has just grown and grown and grown. I mean, last year we had over 1,200 unique anglers across the United States participate, 41 states. It's blown up. It really has.
How did you know that? Because I think of if you've seen the Social Network movie about Mark Zuckerberg and the idea of Facebook, it's like you take an idea and you did move with it, and you were this was groundbreaking, what I think you did. Did you do this all by yourself? Did you build the app the first tournament? Did you build an app and start this from scratch, or how did it?
No, actually, I started it with email and keeping links and weights in a spreadsheet.
Holy crap!
It was, and I'm still at that point to a certain extent. I got some automation that I'm working with now to help me out, but yeah, it was manual. I mean, strict manual. And now as we've grown, I've had to incorporate some automation and copying information in and spreadsheets and stuff. But I am striving right now to move towards with one of our sponsors to build an app that we can just take a picture on your phone and automatically put your info in for the tournament and report it for you.
That's absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
That's insane. So right now, how do you break the tournaments down right now? Is it monthly? Is it category? How does all that work?
Yeah, great question. So we have 5 tournaments. I just kicked this off last night actually with our first video on it. We've got 5 tournaments this year, and the first 2 are regional. So we have a Southern Region Big Bass Tournament, and if you go on our website, you'll see a map of the Southern region of the United States, and then
goes from the 11th of March through the 15th of April. And then from about 11 May to 15 June is our Northern Region Big Bass Tournament. So Virginia's in the Southern Region. And I know probably a lot of people thinking, man, Florida's got the big bass. Well, guess what? Virginia came in second place last year. Florida did win. Actually, the person who won has won our first 2. But I'll tell you, it's close. Every year, Virginia does real well. Actually, our big summer tournament, Brian Green, the bass hunter as we call him, he won the nationwide summer bass tournament that we had. We call it the 5 bass draw.
That's insane. And we got a bunch of people hopping in right now in the queue. So if you could repeat that, how many people were in this tournament when Virginia won, give or take?
940.
So 900 people across the nation, and Virginia actually won. That's absolutely awesome. That catch play release.
Yes.
If you guys aren't aware or under a rock, because that thing has 200 views on YouTube alone. Pennsylvania has really started this idea, and this is a government statewide. It's not a mandate yet, but they're really pushing catch, weigh, release tournaments. your channel now, that's what it is. Like, talk to me about your thoughts about all that, catch, weigh, release in general.
Yeah, I really think it's the wave of the future. I do, and there's so with technology out there. I mean, most folks are aware there's with Bluetooth technology on scales that you can link to your phone. There's all kinds of ways that we can weigh fish, measure fish, and I'm a big proponent of it. We're driving around with bass bouncing around your live well for 8 hours or 9 hours a day is not good for the fish. Now, I know there's studies out there that show there's a 1 to 2% kill rate with that. Well, if we could get it down to 0.5, that'd even be better for the fishery. But I think it would help the industry long term, right? Is to get to that catch, weigh, release. There's no reason to run around with fish bouncing around the live well, other than at the end of a tournament for spectators, and it's a money-driving thing, right? But I think we could move away from that as an industry.
Yeah, I honestly, and there's two parts that I want to hit on. One we talked about earlier. I think if it's per the spectators, I think the best way to kind of meet in the middle is what Texas does with their Lake Fork tournaments, where you get to bring one in, and that's your biggest one. Everything else is catch weigh, if you want to have the spectators still. But we also talked about weight.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I'm new into the kayak world, I've only been there about 2 years, inches just doesn't feel like it transfers for a lot of the populace. And if there was a way you could do catch weigh and you were weighing, I wonder if that would help make it more culturally acceptable to have that style tournament.
I think it definitely would, Thomas, and the technology's there to have that. Now, on our tournaments, we are length first for our tournament, but I tell people to weigh the fish too. We use weight as a tiebreaker.
I like that, yeah.
And what we do is you have to take a picture of you holding the fish with the digital scale full length, where we can see you're not pulling the tail. Haven't had any issues with people trying to skirt or cheat or anything like that, but just to be on the safe side. And I think that's helped a lot of people join in on our tournaments, especially when they get to weigh that big bass. Mm-hmm. And it has broken ties for us.
That's awesome.
I've had 2 tournaments that had a tiebreaker with the weight. So there is a lot of, you're breaking a paradigm that's been established for years in bass fishing, right? You have to get past the weight and kind of look at what is available. But I think there's a way. It's there. It's just we've got to embrace it as a community about using the technology that's available to weigh and record. And maybe if it's a picture with the weight, we could get there. We should. It's not far off.
I think it's also people need to keep in mind. And then we got some guys. Ask all your questions now, and I'll make sure we get them all answered. The technology's new. Like, I'm trying to think, and you probably be more familiar with this. When did catch weigh become a thing? Like 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been, was it the FLW that started where they were, maybe one of the tournament circuits where they just weighed them?
Yeah, and took a picture.
Took a picture and let them go.
And then the apps for kayak tournaments started, it wasn't that long ago.
No, about 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's really new.
Yeah, it is.
Culturally, I think you're right. The technology is so new. I think that's where the fishing demographic, they're hesitant to embrace that stuff. But I was listening to, I actually had Jake Harshman on the show, and he was fishing the Susquehanna Bassmaster thing, and he told me, like, I don't know what the app would, the app recognized that fish looked like it was the same, and it actually was. He caught the exact same fish twice. The app recognized that when he took a picture. With AI integration and all that stuff, in a couple of years, maybe sooner, the technology's gonna be so freaking advanced to do this.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's
just
insane.
think about your camera on your smartphone. We don't even touch but about 4% of the capability of the camera with, when you add in AI technology and things of that nature with just the camera on your smartphone. We walk around with really what we paid $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 for a camera, 20 years ago.
It's insane.
So, yeah,
it's insane.
is. But it's going to take time, I think, to get there. But yeah, especially with technology moving, especially with AI, you could recognize, you got GPS as well on your phone. It's hard to lie about where you caught a fish if people are worried about that, because it's going to imprint that date and time on that picture. So there's a lot of things in there to foolproof it, to make sure it's accurate as well.
I want to hit on that because that was something that I think is a little funny. Is people are like, well, they're worried about cheating with these catch, weigh, release tournaments, but on the same token, they also don't like it because it takes a timestamp of where you caught it.
Yeah.
So it's like people just want it both ways, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah, so as a YouTuber, right?
Yeah.
We're both YouTubers. You've been out on a boat with me. I don't have any secrets, right? There's no secret bait. There's no secret spot. Nope. Fishing is fishing, right? Even if I tell you I caught an 8-pounder in that brush pile in the lake and gave you the GPS coordinates, doesn't mean you're going to go back there and catch an 8-pounder, right?
Exactly.
So I get it. There's people that like to have their secrets in fishing. That's something they like to have close hold. But in the long run, especially with these types of tournaments, I don't release where you caught your fish at. Long as I look at it, I evaluate it, make sure that it's legal, length and everything. I don't share that with anyone. If you choose to share that, great. But I don't throw the GPS coordinates out there. I just make sure that the date time stamp is there. You're good. And there's ways around if you wanted to protect people and specifically on their, where they caught those fish. There's ways to do that for sure.
It's so fascinating to me. And then the other thing is really, you have a really cool pimped out electric boat. I really want to talk about that for a little bit because of where you're located. There's so many electric motor only or motor restricted lakes, and that's for a lot of people in Virginia. Like, how did you rig your boat out?
So when I considered how I was going to start fishing here in Virginia, excuse me, after I retired from the military, I was leaning towards a bass boat. I'm going to go ahead and bite the bullet for $60,000, $70,000. And then I just looked at the water and said, just like you said, I was like, I have mostly electric fishing areas in my area where I live at. And so I embraced that. So I went and bought a low 1660 roughneck shell of a boat from here down here in Richmond. I can't remember the name of the company. But I just basically wired it for electric, meaning I did not put gas in the back, didn't even consider that. And I put a 3 horsepower electric motor in the back that's run off lithium batteries, 36 volt. And then put the batteries throughout the boat to distribute the weight.
Really smart.
And just a 24 volt, foot controlled trolling motor with, that boat comes decked out just like a bass boat. And that's how I've got it set up now with all the electronics on it as well. I mean, it's basically a bass boat in an aluminum boat shell without a gas motor.
That width is so nice because that thing is stable as anything. Yeah. It really is.
Yeah, it's got a 60-inch beam across the bottom. It's 88 inches across the top.
Wow.
Which makes it, I mean, you fished on it. Mm-hmm. 2 people can fish on that easy.
It's so stable. I think it really, and there's more and more trends of this, people customizing John boats, but the right John boat will feel fantastic. It's sturdy, it's wide. It's not like the wobbly ones that I grew up in that were super narrow.
Yeah. A lot of people like to go buy a 14-foot, 36-inch wide, but that's like a common size. But they are they're not as stable. If you go ahead and buy that 60-inch or 62 or 64-inch, you'll be much happier in the long run with that type of boat.
That's a really good call. And then we got Lee Wells. Lee Wells in the chat. Lee Wells is also a Patreon member, dude. Thank you so much for your patronage. It really helps me out. We got his question is, what scales are you using for this? So if you're doing the weight, is there like a mandated scale everyone has?
Nope. As long as it's a digital scale, that's how we, because weight is second for our tournament, length is first. As long as it's a digital scale, that's all we require.
Awesome stuff. And then we're going to be, hopefully, guys, we're going to be doing some fishing this year as well. I think we've been talking about for a while fishing the Occoquan Reservoir tournaments that they have there. It's I feel guilty. I've done this podcast for 2 years. I've never fished that place. I have never fished it, and it's one of the best reservoirs in Virginia.
Yeah, and it's only 18 miles from my house, and I haven't fished it either.
Oh, jeez, dude.
So I got to get on. I'm excited about getting out there and potentially fishing it.
Well, I mean, you also got some banger lakes near you. I mean, Mooney has popped off a lot. It's gotten really good.
Yeah.
And that's the perfect size, too.
Yeah. Mooney, Hunting Run. I mean, I caught 5 bass over 8 pounds out of Hunting Run last year.
Jeez, you did not.
Yes, I did. Somebody witnessed them, too.
In front of me.
So, yeah, there's some good lakes down here, some good water. So, But, I have to throw this out, Thomas. I was out on the lake I guess it's been about 2 months ago, and I was either loading or launching my boat, and a kayaker came up to me. He goes, "Man, I love your channel." He goes, "You and the guy from Fishing the DMV have got to get together. You guys have got to, because I love watching Fishing the DMV. I like to watch you fish. You guys can go out there and probably kill it." So I agree with him. We got to get out there and
it'll be some good content. We'll catch some fish. That's for sure.
No doubt.
I mean, if people want to start into your tournament trail, how does that all work if they want to get involved?
If they want to join in the virtual tournament, all you have to do is send me an email at shaneflintoutdoors@yahoo.com, and I'll respond to you within a couple of days with a welcome to our tournament series, give you the basic rules. And then about a day or two prior to the tournament, you'll get a participation code that you have to use in your photos, which is unique to that angler, to register your catches. That's all you have to do.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So guys, again, please we'll put the link in the episode description for this bad boy. Shane Flint Outdoors, check that out. Our live streaming will be continuing at 4:30 is when we're going to get back to it. Meet and greet though all the way up until then, but at 4:30 we're going to have a live stream. That is on the YouTube homepage, so you can find that. So just stay tuned for that. Again, 4:30 is when we start back up. We'll see you then. Bye.
You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your